Sports Minutes with Ziaul Raushan.
Money FM 89.3. It's time for Sports Minutes with me, Ziaul Raushan. Now, for years, Singapore clubs have looked to the Balkans for tough, tenacious and technical footballers. Looking at you, Marco. But in recent months, the script has been flipped as a Singaporean has headed in the other direction. I'm, of course, referring to Harhys Stewart, who is sailing uncharted territories with FC Ferzay. And that takes us to Kosovo, where Harhys is joining us from. Harhys, great to have you on Sports Minutes. How have you been?
Thank you for having me. I've been good. I've been obviously settling down into a new culture, a new country. But overall, it's been a really good experience so far. And I'm excited to share more about Kosovo.
I'm so excited to talk about how you're settling into a new atmosphere. But I have to ask you this. By taking this move to Kosovo, right, you're breaking new ground for Singapore football. Are you aware of how much of an inspiration you are?
I mean, I don't really think about it in that regard. Obviously, I know that it's a big move for myself. And I know that not many Singaporeans had the opportunity to go. And that's why I was really excited when this opportunity was presented to me. And I know that, it's a big step, but I think I'm ready to take it. And I'm ready to do my best to not just represent myself, but, all Singaporean footballers. And hopefully I can do well and pave the path for more players to follow.
Absolutely. Paving the path is what you are doing. I have to ask, there was interest for you to remain in Thailand or perhaps stay closer to home, right? Yet you decided to embark on this adventure. What gave you the confidence to take that leap of faith?
Yeah, I think, obviously the Thai league is really high level. And as Singaporeans, we know all about it because it's very close to home. Yeah, I had some offers to stay in Thailand in some pretty deep, very interesting projects, which I felt like could have helped my development as well. But in my opinion, my goal, my dream was always to play in Europe ever since I was a kid. And so I was talking to different agents, and my agent, I had this opportunity to go to Kosovo, and obviously it's not so well known in Europe, but I still think that it's a good step in the right direction, and it's a new challenge. I think that was always my thought process when I thought about my next move is I want to go somewhere to get better as a player and also become grow as a person. And I thought that this was a perfect opportunity to do that in Kosovo.
And you talk about following that dream, right? That inner ambition you had to play in Europe. I have to ask you this though. It would have been much easier to take the safer option. Why did you decide to sort of push yourself out of your comfort zone for your own personal satisfaction?
I could have obviously stayed closer to home, got a better contract and been more comfortable all in all. But I feel like I said, it was always a personal ambition of mine to go to Europe. And I think this is a really good opportunity to test myself. And, it's another platform to go on and keep improving myself. I always said that I don't want to be the best player. I just want to be the best version of myself. I'm always competing against myself. I'm not competing against any other player specifically. So I think this is the best opportunity for me to just improve as a footballer. Everyone knows that Europe is the highest standard of football in the world. So here day in and day out, I'm playing against players that, are a similar style to some of the foreign players that come to Singapore. So very aggressive, very physical, very direct. So it's been really good so far. It's taken me a bit of time to adapt to the different environments, the different facilities and infrastructure is a bit different. But I think so far it's been really good experience. It's not been the easiest, but I think it's been really beneficial to myself.
Harhys, I hear you and I can't wait to find out more about how you're settling in with your teammates in terms of training. But come clean with me. How much did you have to Google about Kosovo and the club you're joining before you agreed and put pen to paper?
I didn't know too much about Kosovo and Kosovan football. So I definitely had to do a bit of research. I just did a bit of Googling, seeing some videos on YouTube of the highlights of the previous season and just reading up about the club and social media. I feel like I didn't do too much research, but I just wanted to make sure. I also had some friends who had previous teammates who had played in Kosovo. So I just asked them about it. So they said that it was a good level and it was a good experience most of all. So yeah, I didn't do too much research in that regard.
And I guess now you're doing on-ground research because you've trained with your new teammates and you're sort of getting used to things. Has there already been a moment where you put your hand up and say, "Oh my, this is quite different"?
I mean, I think from the training, it's not that different because at the end of the day, it's always football. You know what I mean? So you always like when you get on the field, it's very familiar. But I just think the style of coaching and the style of play is very, very different. And like when I first came, I was like, okay, wow, this is like a very different experience for me. And like from the drills to like just the organization of training is very different to Thailand and Singapore. And just as we know from the players from this region who come to Singapore, their style of play is very direct, very physical, and so that was definitely something that I had to get used to really quickly when I first came. But we had a couple overseas like training camps where we went to North Macedonia and also to Bulgaria. So we over there we had like a good team bonding, and I got to know the players more on and off the field, and also like got to see new cities that honestly I would have like imagined visiting. So that was a good experience so far.
And you talk about getting to know your teammates. I've seen some videos of your national team teammates doing some initiation songs, right? I've seen Iksan recently post something, Safwan as well, not too long ago. Did you have an initiation song as well?
At the moment, they didn't have an initiation song, so I'm hoping it stays that way. But I don't know, maybe when the season starts, and like I make my official debut, then I don't know, I will have to see.
And Harhys, is it slightly different playing in a colder climate because you're used to Thailand and Singapore? I know you spent time in Europe when you were younger, but is it different now?
I think it will be. It hasn't been that cold so far. Like I was very surprised at the weather when I first came here because especially our field at Ferizai is artificial, so it gets quite hot in the morning, and it was like 30 degrees some
Wow.
days in preseason. So it was really, really, really warm and sunny. I mean, the last week it's been a bit more cool, but I think in the summers it gets really hot. People don't realize it gets really, really hot. So yeah, at the moment it's been like Singapore weather during training, and so I'm used to it. But yeah, I've talked to some teammates and on my brother as well, and he said that yeah, get prepared because when it gets cold, it's gonna be like very cold and it's very different. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think like you said, I had some experience when I was younger playing in colder climates, but I think it'll definitely take a little bit of time to get used to, and maybe I have to change up my routine a little bit to figure it out.
Speaking of routines, you spoke earlier about going on those training camps with your new teammates, right? But you also mentioned, Balkans tend to be more physical. So does your new routine include more gym work, perhaps?
I think it does, but also in preseason, we just do a lot more. Like we've been doing a lot of double sessions. Like on these training camps is very relentless. You have morning training, then you have afternoon training, and even on match days they will have morning training as well. And it's a lot of gym. Like we do a lot of gym with the team. So I've noticed that like we do a lot more physical work than in Asia, and I think just the style of play is not only just about getting like bigger, in the gym. It's about like being able to run and sprint a lot more because like you just have to be doing a lot of repeated sprints and just like pressing and yeah, it's not just about the strength and like going to the gym in that regard, but also about the more like stamina and speed work, I feel.
I can already see this working out for you because in terms of what you mentioned, in terms of what's needed to make it in Kosovan football, you have those traits, right? You've shown it for your previous clubs as well as for the national team. Is that why you feel you can really make an impact in your season here?
I do agree that those are some of my like positive traits, like my stamina, my speed, and my like just physical traits. Yeah, like you mentioned. But I think that is kind of like it kind of evens out here because everyone else can also run and do that. So I think it's also a chance for me to show my other qualities that can also shine in this region. I feel like it's also a time to develop as a player and develop in other areas as well.
Harhys, can I ask you this? A lot of talk about foreigners playing in the local league at the moment. You, ironically, are now the foreigner in a league abroad, right? Does that come with a level of pressure, a level of expectation?
Yeah, I think definitely because especially coming from Singapore, they're not very familiar with Singapore football or like Singapore in general. So I feel like I want to do well and prove like to everyone that like what Singapore football is all about and be like a good example and a good representation of Singaporean footballers. And also in this season, all the foreign players in Farizai have been like kind of from around the region. Like, so I'm really the only foreigner that's not from Eastern Europe because we have some foreigners from Albania, from like North Macedonia, from Croatia off the top of my head. So I'm really the only foreigner who like is like kind of going into a new culture. So it's just been a bit more different, and it's taken me a bit more time to adapt. But yeah, I think there's always pressure when you go to a new club to perform. You know, you always want to start well. You always want to show what you can do. I think that's normal. But at the end of the day, I'm just gonna focus on I know what I can do and I know I can help the team. So when I'm given the chance, I just perform as best as I can.
Harris, is language at all a problem? And please don't say football is a universal language.
No, I mean, I know, yeah, I think it has been a bit of slightly a problem. Obviously, you have coaches who can. I have like a team of coaches, and so the head coach and the assistant coach don't really speak English that well. Like they can kind of, like explain some things, but they mostly I have to go and ask like other coaches, or they have the players can all speak good like decent English to get around. So that's been good so far, but definitely like a lot of the things are just sit in Albanian, so it's a bit more difficult to like. It just takes me a bit more time, because when they're explaining drills or tactics, it's just a bit more difficult for me.
Harris, by your own admission, you're a late bloomer, right? You started off slightly later than I guess normal footballers would. But all
Yeah,
things considered, the past 18 months have been fairly whirlwind for you in terms of club football as well as country football in terms of representing Singapore. What do you
yeah.
think clicked for you?
To be honest, I always felt like I was good enough to make an impact for Singapore and both like to go overseas and play well. But I just needed to wait for my chance. I think there were also other players, in the national team who were also performing well, like senior players. So you just have to respect the coach's decision at that point. I just felt like as long as I stayed ready and continued to perform, then I get my chance. And so I felt like as soon as I got my chance to prove myself, I was also very lucky in Chiang Rai that I had like a team and the coaches and the president who believed in me. So they like, like gave me the opportunity to show what I could do. And then obviously, Coach Ogura, who was the Singapore coach, when he gave me my debut, he also believed in me and gave me the chance. So I think that's also very important. Like, not only was I felt like I was ready, but the coaches felt like they could trust me and believe, and they gave me that trust, and I hope that I paid them back in my performances.
Harris, because you brought up Coach Ogura, I just want to ask you something about him. He's obviously left the national team role, and I guess you will hold fond memories of him because you played a key role under him, right? What's one thing you will
Yeah.
always remember of Coach Ogura?
I I always remember my debut, obviously, against China, because not only my first game we had a good result. I came on at halftime. I think we were down 2-0, if I'm not wrong, and then we came back to 2-2. So like an amazing first game. And I just remember after the game when we were just walking around and we were like thanking the fans at the stadium. He just came up to me. He's like, "Oh, I didn't know it was your first game." But he's like, you played. I just remember he like just put his arm around my shoulder and said, "Oh, you played really well." And it's like, just keep going. And he just like kind of, it felt like very nice to just, get that moment with him after my debut.
Yeah, that confirms my suspicion that Ogura is a master in man management. And thank you for sharing that moment, right? Let's talk about your brother for a short while. When you agreed this move, Raihan was still playing in Europe. It must upset you a little that your brother is not exactly in the same continent as you anymore.
Yeah, I think when I was like negotiating the contract for this, we were quite excited because we were like looking at flights and we're seeing like, oh, it's not very far, like we could technically like if we have a couple of days off, we could visit each other, or like in the winter break, definitely we had time to visit. And I think it was just unfortunate that it was off the field things with Raihan that didn't work out in terms of the club and the way that it was, like some of the stuff off the field wasn't very good. But I think, he's in a good situation now with Kanchanaburi. I think they have a very good project going on. and a really ambitious project. So I'm excited to see him back in Thai league and playing in a good league as well. So I'm not worried about him.
What's some advice he gave you before you embarked on this journey? I guess in hindsight, all alone now.
He just said to get ready for the physicality, like the intensity is a lot higher because obviously the weather in Europe is as we mentioned is cooler. So you just have that ability to everyone has that ability to just run a bit more. It's a bit more like mobile compared to I feel like in Asia it's a lot more technical from what I've seen. Like it's a lot more like they kind of try and let the ball move more. Whereas here it's like everyone's just sprinting, everyone's like always on the move. So it's a bit different on the ball and also off the ball.
And I think you mentioned this a little earlier in terms of this step to Europe is obviously going to be hopefully a gateway to something bigger, right? Is that your ambition then? You've got a 2-year contract, but are you eyeing something bigger?
I think at the moment I'm just focused on getting getting my spot in the team, giving good performances. Obviously, as a player, you wanna go to the biggest leagues and play for the best teams that you can. So I'm just focused on Fairza at the moment. I'm focused on helping the team, getting good results, and then whatever happens in the future will happen. But I think definitely when I looked to moving to Europe, I felt like it's like going into the big pond. I felt like the small fish going into a really big pond, and the opportunity to really like go anywhere is possible. So I'm definitely looking to prove myself and just show that I can compete and play in Europe, and then whatever happens next, I think it'll all work out by itself if I just keep working hard.
Harhys, you've given a great account of yourself and your mindset to succeed really comes true. I want to ask you this because a lot of people maybe make a stereotype saying, footballers got it good. They travel the world, they play football, and they get to see places that not a lot of people get to see, right? But I want to hear from you in terms of some of the pain points you have settling into somewhere as unique as Kosovo.
Like, I think I was actually thinking about this the other day in terms of like from the outside, it all looks very, very rosy and it looks really, really easy and nice. Like at the end of the day, I'm playing football for a living. I'm getting paid to do it. It's my dream. So I'm so grateful for that. And I'm really lucky to be able to do that every day. But at the same time, like, people don't realize like you're going into situations where like you're all alone in this case. You're going away from your family, a new culture, new language. So like it's definitely like a shock to the system. Like it was even when I moved to Chiang Rai, it was quite difficult to adapt at the start. And when I moved to Kosovo, it was also like even more, because you realize like you're not just a flight or two away from home. You're really on the opposite side of the world. So it was mentally very difficult the first week or so in terms of with also the time difference, talking to all my friends and family. But I think at the moment after like it's been a month or so, I'm a bit more used to it, and I'm getting used to like getting around with daily life, like where to get my food, because the food also is very different. People don't realize like when you go to the supermarket, there's like a lot of ingredients that you just can't find in Kosovo, So like my mom's sending me recipes to cook, and it's like I don't have half the ingredients in the supermarket. So it's things like that. But it's good actually, Like I think it helps me grow as a person to learn about new cultures, and at the end of the day, like I feel like it's a really, really good new experience for me.
So for any of the listeners listening in, friends, family, I'm sure they'll be listening to this. If they were to travel to Kosovo to see you from Singapore, what's one thing you want them to bring along for you?
To be honest, I do miss the Singaporean food, as I feel like a lot of Singaporeans abroad would miss. To be honest, like not a food, not an ingredient, but something like just like a home cooked meal of like nasi lemak or chicken rice would be so good, because I've been trying to cook myself, and I'm not gonna lie, at the moment it's not been very good. It's been edible, but I feel like apart from being edible, the taste is not really there. So yeah.
All right, listeners, you heard Harhys needs some grab delivery in terms of Singaporean food all the way in Kosovo. Final few questions to round it up with you, Harhys. You talked earlier about hopefully paving a way for other Singaporeans, right? Is that part of your motivation to try and open doors, because we are in 2025 and a lot of Singaporeans are applying abroad, but perhaps not as far as you?
Yeah, I think obviously, that we want the SPL to be the best league it can be, and I think with this new rule change, I feel like the quality will definitely be higher. So that's a step in the right direction. But I think if we have to be honest, we know that the overseas leagues are at the moment they're like higher standard than SPL. So the more players we can get to play overseas, the better. So I felt like I improved so much as a player, and not just as a player, but as a person, like as a professional, to take care of my body, to have my diet right, and off the field, to really be more independent. So I think as I think in Chiang Rai, when I managed to go to Chiang Rai and then Jordan came, it's like, I felt like it kind of opened the door for him and he did really well. And look, now he's in BG having, hopefully he has a really good season. So I think we should try and, as Singapore footballers, we should try and challenge ourselves as much as possible, and go to as many, go to as high as a level as we can. So I'm not saying like I'm trying to pave the way for anyone, but I think Singapore footballers will pave their way for themselves. But I'm just saying that if this helps someone, like if I give a good account of myself, and then it sees the clubs around here will see Singaporean players in a different light. I feel like now they don't have any idea about Singapore players because it's just so far, so foreign. But if I play well, then you can see like in other leagues in Europe, if someone from Asia plays well, then you can see sometimes more players follow, and they're more willing to take other Asian players. So I hope that I can do well, and then they have a good impression of Singapore and Southeast Asian footballers in general.
No, I love that, and I hope you continue to make strides, especially in your 2 years with the club you are at. Final question, what's that dream European club, if ever? Dream as big as you want.
Obviously, as a kid, you always grew. I mean, my family was all Liverpool, and I know that's a long, 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 long way away, and I can't even dream of that at the moment. But I think if I could, the dream, if I could play in like a European competition, I feel like that would be like wow, like I would never have been able to dream of that. And if I can manage to, like play in the Euro qualifiers, like manage to get a good result in the league and play in the European qualifiers or something like that, and manage to even like go further, then I feel like that would be the dream. But yeah, I think at the moment, to be honest, if you ask me like after NS, which was only like 2 years ago, like where do you see yourself in 2 years? I would never be able to tell you this. So like I feel like at the moment I'm just taking everything as it comes and just like trying to make the most of the present. So that's my goal at the moment.
You've blown my mind by saying NS was 2 years ago. I feel like I remember seeing you with the armband for Young Lions, yet here you are speaking to me from Kosovo.
Yeah.
Harhys Stewart, it's been excellent speaking to you. Thank you so much, and continue flying the flag.
Thank you very much.
Sports Minutes on Money FM 89.3.